Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about California Residential Purchase Agreement, all 17 pages of it. We've been talking about the changes to these forms for a while now. Thanks to Melrose and Chuck who brings us the latest from NAR and C.A.R. and keep us up to date. We have a lot to cover, so we're going to get this going.
In California, 17 pages decide who owns the house, not the tour, not the handshake, not the text message where everybody said yes. 17 pages, the California Residential Purchase Agreement. Today we walk it page by page in the June 2026 revision. First, the disclaimer, this video is educational only. It is not legal advice, and watching it does not make me your agent or your attorney. C.A.R. forms are copyrighted and available to realtor members. Always confirm with your own broker and, where it matters, a real estate attorney. Start with what you are actually signing. The RPA is 2 documents in one. It is a purchase contract. It is a joint escrow instructions. That second half is the part people miss. It is why escrow can act on this document directly without a separate set of orders. The June 2026 revision runs 17 pages, and the form says so on its own face. Paragraph 3 reads, "This form is 17 pages. The parties are advised to read all 17 pages, but the RPA does not travel alone. It arrives inside a bundle. The agency disclosure goes in front, then the RPA, then the advisories trail behind it, fair housing, homeowners insurance, wire fraud, buyer investigation." In the June 2026 bundle, that is about 25 pages in total. Before anybody drafts an offer, there is an order the law cares about. First, the agency disclosure, civil code. Section 2079.14 requires it be acknowledged before the representation agreement. Second, the buyer representation and broker compensation agreement, the BRBC. That one is mandatory before you provide any buyer services at all. And since Assembly Bill 2992, it caps at 90 days for individual buyer with no automatic renewal. Third, and only third, the RPA. 2 things matter here. The BRBC sets the ceiling on the compensation you can ask a seller for later, and a BRBC that quietly expired in the middle of a house hunt is a compensation problem and a compliance problem at the same time. Here's the mental model that makes this form easy. Think of it as a machine with 2 halves. The front is the steering wheel, the back is the engine. The steering wheel is paragraph 3, terms of purchase and allocation of costs. It is a grid, and it spans pages 1 through 3, rows A through R. That grid is the offer. Every real decision you make lives inside it. The engine is pages 4 through 14, pre-written fine print. You do not edit. And look at the grid's second column. It is headed para number. Every single row points at the paragraph that explains it. When a fight starts in the middle of escrow, that pointer is where you go. Page 1, rows A through F. Row A is the purchase price with the all cash box beside it. Row B, close of escrow. 30 days is customary, or you name a calendar date. Row C, expiration of the offer. The default is 3 calendar days after the buyer signs. Leave it alone. Row D is the initial deposit, and read across into the additional terms column, because this is the 1 business day clock in the entire form. The deposit is due within 3 business days after acceptance by wire transfer. Everything else in this contract counts calendar days. This one does not. 1 to 3% is customary, and 3% is the Bay Area norm. 3% is not an accident. It is the liquidated Damages cap, we will come back to that on page 15. Row D2 is the increased deposit and it points you at Form YDA. Row E is the loan. Left untouched, it reads conventional. Check FHA or VA, and Form FVAC comes along with it. Row E3 is an occupancy type. Row F is the balance of the down payment, which auto-calculates net of your deposit. Check the math anyway. Page 2 opens with money moving from the seller to the buyer. Row G, G1 is the seller credit to the buyer for closing costs. G2 is the other seller credits and payments. And June 2026 broadened this row. Rate buy downs, repair allowances, and HOA dues now fit here. G3 is the seller's payment to compensate the buyer's broker. It has lived inside the RPA since December 2024. Two rules, and both of them get missed in real offers. Check the box and write the number, and never ask for more than the BRBC allows. Then row H, verification, there's a ladder printed right on the form. Pre-qualification, pre-approval, fully underwritten, pre-approval. A prequel is a conversation. A pre-approval is a check. A fully underwritten approval is what a strong listing actually wants to see. Row L, contingencies. This is the most important block on the form, and it is the one out-of-state buyers get exactly backwards. 4 of them run 17 days from acceptance. Loan, appraisal, investigation, and insurance. Insurance became its own contingency in June 2024, and in California, it is load-bearing. Shop your coverage in week 1, not on day 16. Then the document review items. Seller documents, the preliminary title report, common interest disclosures, and leased or liened items like solar panels. Those run 17 days or 5 days after delivery, whichever is later. Now the appraisal row, because June 2026 changed it, you choose appraisal contingency based on appraised value at a minimum of the purchase price, or, and this is the new option, at a stated dollar amount less than the final purchase price. The form calls that difference the appraisal gap. It is a row in the grid. It is not a separate addendum, no matter what an older video tells you. That is the middle path between a full contingency and a naked waiver, and the rule that governs all of it. In California, contingencies never expire on their own. Removal is active, and it is in writing on Form CRB. Day 18 with nothing signed means the buyer is still protected. Page 3, 2 halves, top half, row P, items included. The form pre-lists them. Refrigerator, washer, dryer, wine refrigerator, video doorbell, security cameras, smart home devices, electric car charging systems. Overcheck, a wrong check is a shrug. A missed check is a hole in the island where the wine fridge used to be. Bottom half, row Q, allocation of costs, 18 lines of who pays for what. This is where Bay Area practice splits from almost every RPA training video you will find, because most of them teach Southern California custom. In Alameda County, Fremont, Newark, Union City, the buyer customarily pays escrow and title. In the Santa Clara County, Milpitas, San Jose, the seller customarily pays both. Same form, opposite fills, 20 minutes apart on the freeway. And that is custom, not law. It is negotiable, and it is worth matching to the seller's preference. One line to leave alone. Government required point of sale, corrective and remedial actions. That is a blank check. Check it and you own whatever the city finds. Negotiate corrections when they are known and quantified, never in advance. Pages 4 through 14 are the machinery. You do not fill them in, you initial each page and you move. But read paragraph 25 once all the way through, because paragraph 25 is where every deadline argument ends. Days are calendar days. The day the event happens is day 0. Periods end at 11:59 at night. If a deadline lands on a Saturday, a Sunday, or a legal holiday, performance rolls to the next business day and delivery. A document is delivered when it is in the recipient's inbox. Read or not, that single clause decides whether a notice landed in time. Page 15 of 17, this is the most missed page in the whole form, and 3 separate initials live on it: the liquidated damages box, the arbitration box, and the page footer. Paragraph 29, liquidated damages. If the buyer fails to complete the purchase because of the buyer's default, the seller retains the deposit actually paid, and on a dwelling of no more than 4 units that the buyer intended to occupy, that is capped at 3% of the purchase price, any excesses are returned to the buyer. It only binds if every party initials it. Paragraph 30, mediation. This one is built in. It needs no initials at all, but skip it or refuse a request to mediate before somebody files, and you forfeit attorney's fees even if you go on to win. Paragraph 31, arbitration. Binding only if both sides initial. It waives your jury trial and most of your appeal rights. That is a decision, not a reflex. Pages 16 and 17, the offer, the signatures, and the broker section, including the designated electronic delivery addresses, which are what legally define delivery for this deal. Get them right. Then the seller moves. They accept as written. They counter on an SCO. They counter several buyers at once on an SMCO. And remember, an SMCO is not binding until the seller signs again after the buyer accepts, or they hold the offer as a backup. Put the whole thing on a clock. Day 0 is acceptance. Final signature delivered back. 3 business days in, the deposit is wired. Day 7, the seller's disclosure package is due. Week 1, you are shopping, insurance, and booking inspections. Day 17, the 4 big contingencies come due, and nothing expires by itself. 5 days before closing, the final walkthrough, which is not a contingency, then sign, fund, record, and possession passes on a recordation. The 5 worth memorizing. Contingencies never lapse on their own. 3% deposit wired within 3 business days. Know your county before you fill the cost grid. Never check the corrective actions line. And page 15 has 3 initials. Read the form. It is 17 pages, and it tells you that itself on page 1. Harv, Balu, realty experts in Fremont. If you have a question about a specific deal, that is what the comments are for.